This is an open letter for Mr. Stephen King. Hello, sir. How are you? Hope everything is fine. Uh, I wanted to make you a letter for some time now, but didn't have the time. And I just heard an interview on NPR with you, I thought, well, here's a good time to make the letter for you. Here's the thing, Mr. King. I have read some few books in my time. I'm sure not as much as you, so I've never written any book and read a few books in my time. Uh, Not by any means a well-read person, but I've read some. Usually, when I read sample from different people, as the case is with many people, I sample, and if I find, a writer to be, I enjoy what he has written, I would seek other books from him. And usually I either have found very good writers and I enjoyed their work, and or so and so, and I would just finish the book and don't ask for my money back. So, but there are very few exceptions, and you are the most notable exception to this rule that I've had with regards to reading. And that is when I I started reading something from Stephen King with Pet Cemetery. And halfway through, I was done. I, left the book on a park bench or on my way to where I was, and, you know, decided I'm not going to read anything from Stephen King anymore. I was, I think, 14, 15 at that time, 16. So my point is this, that because it was clear for me that reading this would create issues for me, non-existent issues that I didn't have, and I realized halfway through one of your books, an acclaimed author and rich author and successful author, I thought I'd give it a try. Through half of one of your books, I decided, no, I'm not. I don't care how rich and successful this gentleman's supposed to be. This is madness. Reading his work is going to create more issues for me than solve. You see, you go through life. Life is full of problems, and you're trying to find solutions for your problems. That's life. Highway of problems, and with pit stops of pleasure, but mostly problems. You have to negotiate your way through this highway of life, and the what you don't need is more problems. What you don't need is more issues, psychological issues. What else? I mean, mental issues, perspective issues. What you don't need is more. You want less of it. It was clear that you are making money by creating more problems, more issues for people. You are making money by creating more problems than you're solving. Imagine a life in which you solve some problems and you create some problems. When you're younger in life, in age, you create more problems than you solve, and when you're older, you're supposed to solve more problems than you create. That's what usually the case with the presidents. The younger ones create problems, the older ones solve them. But apparently, Mr. Biden is very young at heart. All the shit show with Ukraine and Israel, it seems this is creation of problems. Here's the thing, to put it in simply, Mr. Steven, if I, you know, all respectfully, I don't think your life has been a success if you have created more issues than you have solved. If you consider a life, how much problems you have solved as opposed to how much problems you have created, if there is a hell and heaven at the end, I guess if you have solved more problems than you have created, you probably go to heaven. And if you created more problems than you have solved, then you go to hell. Well, creation of problem has been your business. Mental problems, psychological problems, lifelong psychological problems. As mentioned, the NPR host that you had a talk with, interview with, as mentioned, I remember one of these, Sunday morning host, Aisha something, and she was like, she loves. Here's look at the contrast here. That's what I mean. She loves 6 months ago, a year ago, whatever. She told us that she loves horror movies. Where do horror movies come from? Horror stories. Who tells the horror stories? You, Mr. Stephen King, and people like you. So she loves horror stories, horror movies, but she is scared of. And another 6 months later, she told us she's also scared of the dark. A grown woman who likes horror movies and also is scared of dark. You see the connection, and you see that you and what you have created in your life is probably the main reason that she's scared of dark, and other, I'm sure that's not the only issue, because your books create issues for people. Anybody who has well-read author, everybody knows of him, and everybody has read at least a few of this gentleman's books, and every one of them has some issue of other issues, sleeping, issues being scared in the dark. So my point is, Mr. Stephen King, you have in your life has created you. I can you can imagine your life being a life of uh, you know Peace Prize, the guy behind Peace Prize, Nobel. Apparently he was the one who came up with the dynamite idea, and he decided that he has created something that TNT or dynamite. He was the first one to create it, to come up with the formula, and he realized that he has created more problems, more ways of people killing each other than he has solved in his life. Then he puts his money towards the Nobel Prize to encourage advancement in in areas that solve problems, not in areas that create problems. Advancement in medicine, and no prize for advancement in ways of killing each other. Nevertheless, they're making the most advances because the money is there. There's a lot of money to be made in killing people, either fictitiously like you have done, or really as these folks are doing on the battlefield. But my point is this, sir. You, in your life, in my view, you have created more problems than you have solved. Imagine how many problems you in your life you have solved. Fix the toilet, and fix the faucet, and maybe vacuum, that you solve the problem by vacuuming your house, or did something to solve a problem in your surrounding life. You see, you add all of those into one side of the scale, what problems I have solved, and you add on the other side of scales, what problems I have created. And you, my friend, Mr. Stephen King, you have created more problems for more people than imaginable in your lifetime. These are problems that wasn't there. Issues that they didn't have. Issue with the dark, and issue with, fear of the other. All this, you say, okay, for example, this is what you're saying. Trump, for example, or Trump mentality, the part that is very afraid of the others who don't look like me, that's a product of your industry. Fear creation where none should exist. Creation of fear where none should exist is your industry. And Trump like mentality, the fear of others, is the product of your industry. Now, all of a sudden, you're looking at your product, a bunch of fearful people, but you don't like the product. You see, Mr. Steven, that's the funny, that's the irony that I came up with, that you make fiercely anti-Trump tweets. you know, what was his name? Geppetto? You don't like your own creation? You know, the, the wooden boy. Geppetto? You don't like your own creation. You have created through your storytelling, through your narrative, through your perspective, you have created a nation of fearful individuals, be it fear of the dark, especially fear of the others, fear of, sleeping, fear of this, fear of that, fear of the other, fear of the clowns, fear of the cats, fear of the coof, fear of the fuck and shit. Everything. You have made money by creating a fearful mentality about every, aspect of life, or especially, individuals, peoples, others who didn't look like us, or look like us but they weren't really us. You have been in the business of creating fear, and it has been very profitable. But now that the generation that you have raised, people like you have raised in this industry, are very fearful about brown people, about black people, about yellow people, about blue people, about uh, this, that, and that, about their neighbors, and about their society, and about, you know, keep them all in jail, and, hang them up, shoot them up, lock them up. Lock, these guys are screaming, lock those one up, and those guys are screaming, lock these one up, and everybody's trigger happy and half-ass crazy, because I guess one of the main pillars is your industry. Because not that a lot of people are readers, and no, your stories turn into movies, and these movies these people watch. And in these movies, it sells nothing but fear. Absolutely nothing but fear. I'm sorry. I know it's capitalism, and if they're buying what I gotta sell it. Literally, you said in Pet Cemetery today in your interview that it was so gross that you didn't want to sell it, but I got under some obligations. I had to turn over everything I had, so I turned over this one too. So they published it, and people loved it. I'm sorry, common man likes a lot of things, but selling it, that's why, they make certain things illegal, because common man loves drugs, because the common man is, poor and destitute, and some of them find, a way to distance themselves from their condition by getting high. That's you solve their condition, they will not want to get high anymore. If you most of the time, if you solve their you know hopeless condition, you have to solve their hopeless condition if you want to. And hopeless condition, solving their hopeless condition doesn't mean getting to World War III. Solve their hopeless condition by just creating a more just society, not special economically. Forget about everything else. The society has to be just economically for it to function half as well. But the point is this: here is your stories. All of them have been turned into books. Even the ones that you thought were awful were turned into books and made money off. And the result is a couple of generations of people who are scared of their own shadows and want to ban the others. And now you're on Twitter and you're making comments left, right, and center that you're against. You're against Pinocchio, Geppetto. You're against Pinocchio. This is your creation. And while we are on that subject, you see that there are very few utopian movies or series. Very few. There is a handful, although there is a handful of utopian movies and series, but there are boatloads of dystopian movies made. Boatloads. What is this? Who's financing this? Utopia doesn't sell? Of course it does. I mean, one of the most successful TV franchises of all time is Star Trek. One of the most successful. So it does sell. But why the stories are not being told? Stories of Stephen King, which creates a lot of issues and problems for anybody who watches it or reads it, gets published and produced left, right, and center, the dystopian present, as well as dystopian future. Anything dystopian, bring it on. We need to make more of it. Salute. And then you don't recognize your own creation. These fearful people have been brought up on fear of the others. That's why they can be so easily convinced to go to war. Let's go kick their ass. Fear of others, because I don't know the motherfucker. He talks funny, and he has funny. He talks funny, and he has stupid traditions. Well, yeah. I think the guy thinks your traditions are stupid, but could we all agree that everybody can do their own thing where they were born or where they choose to live? Can we agree? No. They're stupid, and their traditions are stupid, and they talk funny, and they look funny. We should go kick their ass because we know better. God told us to go kick their ass. It's an Amalek. They literally pull a 5,000-year-old, 2,000-year-old, not 2,000-year-old. Oh God, it's King James Bible, and the other one is King Moses Bible. Some mythology have been tied together, created a book of mythology. Dude, none of this is serious. There are hundreds of mythology books in hundreds of old libraries, in hundreds of countries in the world. This was the old world. These books of mythology, they had nothing to do. They sat around and made up stories. And King James apparently decided to collect a bunch of these short stories, put them together, and call it the Bible. I'm sure the same story is behind Quran and the Torah and the Morah and the Gita and Sita and all of that as well. Somebody liked a whole bunch of short stories. They decided to combine them and publish them. That doesn't mean it's the word of God. Anyway, Mr. Stephen King, I understand you're also a big supporter of Israel as well. I'm not sure what kind of sense, if you, of course, things that comes out of your mind with this degree of horror, I'm not, I think, sir, you know, it's not good. And your perspective is skewed. There is nothing to accept about existence of Israel as is. It can stay Israel. Everybody can still live there as long as they pick up, tear down the walls and say, okay, everybody who's living here can live here legally, and you can claim whatever is left of your land, or you can come to some kind of a financial negotiations with the current people who are currently living on your land. They come up to some kind of legal, put it to some kind of legal merry-go-round and come to some sort of settlement, and allow people who have been living there before you to continue living while you're also living there. That's the ultimate solution. It's 75 years they've been fighting for what? To, you know, implement exclusivity. 75 years of fight in Israel because the white people from Europe want to implement exclusivity. They want to have a gated community, a club there, a club of Europeans in Asia. The land is in Asia, but the people here participate in Eurovision. The football teams participate in European Football League. Everything is European or North American except the location of the land. From, the track homes that they built is European and North American, to, everything about Israel is European and North American. It's white. Everything about it is white except its location. It's in the brown people's land. And you're okay with this. And you say, yeah, that's a good idea. That's a great idea. Salute. Here's the thing, Mr. Stephen King. Uh, in short, I feel you have created more problems for more people during your life than you have solved more problems for yourself and other people in your area. I'm sure you have solved some problems, but comparing that to the number of problems and issues that you have created psychologically within your population, which we can see the result of so much fear and hate and so much readiness to go to war and kick ass. This is all you, sir. This is all your industry. The industry that feeds off the awful stories that you have to tell. They're memorable. Those few that I didn't read any more books from you, but the few short stories that I had to watch because I was watching a series. A few of the episodes were some of your short stories or books that was condensed and made into, short short stories. Even those, they were awful, they were memorable, but it's the stuff of nightmares. Sir, you're creating more problems than you're solving all your life for more number of people. It's like out of proportion. It's like the difference between Henry Kissinger and um, Noam Chomsky. Henry Kissinger has created boatloads of problems, and I'm sure have solved very few problems. And Noam Chomsky has been trying to solve problems all his life. Talk sense. You are, I would say, you are the In this sense, you, Mr. Stephen King, are the Henry Kissinger of the storytelling. You have created boatloads of problems for people. As as Mr. Nobel did. Salute.